Hey guys, it's Barry here again with another video. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can consistently get focused work complete and never get distracted again in just 3 simple steps. The ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare in the world we live in today, the world of distraction. The average attention span today is about 8 seconds. The goldfish is actually 9 seconds. At exactly the same time, it's becoming more and more valuable in our economy, this particular scale. At a time when more and more people are knowledge workers, the scale of deep work is what will separate the successful from the mediocre. According to the author Claire Newport, there's one main core ability for thriving in the new economy, and that's the ability to produce at an elite level in terms of both quality and speed. Because if we don't produce, you can't thrive, and especially in business, no matter how skilled or talented you are. Establishing this ability is fundamental to getting ahead in our new technology disrupted world. And this all depends on your ability to perform focused work, okay? On average at work, we're distracted every 3 minutes, and it can take 11 to 24 minutes to regain concentration. And 40% of the time, we don't even resume the previous task. Most of us actually never get into a state of focus during the day, and it's actually no wonder, really. So the starting point here really is having a system that allows you to filter the wall of noise that's coming at you. All the notifications, the calls, the emails, the messages, the instant messages. And the starting point here is having a system that allows you to filter that wall of noise. That's everything that's coming at you all the time. The notifications, the messages, the emails, the interruptions, the social media rabbit holes, and everything else that we need to do it. To do this, you need to set up what I call a traction bubble, okay? So distraction is something that moves us away from what we want. Traction is an action that moves us towards what we really want, e.g. getting focused work on our highest priority. So the opposite of distraction is traction. We want to move away from distraction, gain traction, and get into this zone of focused action, okay? That's the sweet spot. What we need to do is what we call create a traction bubble to do that. A traction bubble involves setting up our environment to eliminate the possibility for distraction. Remember this, your environment is far more powerful than your willpower. And that's why you need to set up this traction bubble here, okay? So let's start with the biggest source of distraction known to man, the phone, and the simple things you can do, okay? Delete any apps that you don't need or that you might not need. They're just taking up mental bandwidth. Every time you open the phone and see a dozen apps on the home screen, just delete them. You can always reinstall them if needs be. It'll be good for your head. It'll be good for your phone as well. Next, rearrange your apps so that our phones are less cluttered and less distracting. Sort your apps into 3 categories: primary tools, secondary, and social. Primary tools help you accomplish defined tasks that you rely on frequently, like getting a taxi or maybe adding an appointment. There should be no more than 5 or 6 of these, and these should be arranged in the first screen of your phone. Secondary apps are the things you want to spend your time doing, okay? Like maybe reading a book, like a Kindle app, meditation app, yoga exercise app, podcasts. These should be on the next page over on your screen when you scroll over. The third screen should be the apps that you open and get lost in, like your emails, your Twitters, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. There's a very effective way to avoid social media, or at least spending less time on it. For social media apps like this, hide them in a subfolder away from that third screen even. That way they're not front and center all the time. They're more likely to be out of mind when they're out of sight. Adding your social apps to a subfolder helps increase the friction needed to access them, and in turn makes it far more likely you won't take the extra step to go find them. Another thing I actually do is just delete the app altogether and just log in through the browser if I need to. Again, this just increases the friction another little bit. Next, we need to modify our notifications. Notifications from our apps are so damaging to our productivity. The average person gets notified 65 to 80 times every single day. And over 85% of people allow notifications, basically allowing app makers to interrupt them whenever they like. Every time you feel a buzz in your pocket, it's already too late. Your attention is fractured. It can take 11 to 24 minutes to regain your focus after being interrupted by a notification, and it just kills your productivity. And if we get constantly distracted by up to 80 or more notifications every day, then your attention is constantly being fractured and you're not going to get very much done. Worse still, you feel frazzled and anxious on a continuous basis. And when it comes to email, do the exact same thing, okay? Turn off those email notifications so you're not tempted to read or respond every time you get a notification, pulling you away from what you're doing. People interruptions are also a major productivity killer at work. The curse of the quick call or the quick question. The solution when you're working on your high priority deep work style tasks is to stand guard at the door of your time. Close the door of your office, put on headphones, communicate your deep work times, or just put a sign up, whatever it takes really, to not be interrupted, to not have that. Remember, in business, your time is your money. If you're interrupted 3 or more times during key tasks, that's over 30 minutes lost in productivity a day. That's equal to 3 working weeks of your time every single year. What will that cost you? And that's a very conservative figure. The reality is the average person gets interrupted and distracted far more often than that. So let that be your motivation. What would you do with these extra 3 weeks? Calls are the same. When you're working on your higher priority tasks, do not take calls. Put your phone on do not disturb mode, turn it off, do whatever it takes, but ensure you won't get interrupted or distracted, okay? If someone wants you bad enough during this time, then believe me, they'll find a way to get a hold of you. And here's a little trick. Don't get back to people until much later in the day. When you do that, often cases people will have solved their own problems, okay? In most cases, people are coming to you for you to solve their problems. Don't always be on demand. Get back to people in your own time, on your terms, not on their terms. Okay, so when you have your traction bubble set up, the next step is to look at everything you need to do, okay? And identify your key recurring tasks. And you're going to be batching these into what we call performance blocks, okay? There's a setup cost with every single task that we do. And by batching these similar type tasks together and only completing them at certain times or certain days, we create massive efficiency for 2 reasons, okay? Number one, we don't have to set up cost every single time we do the recurring task, because half of the work is in the thinking, the setting up, and just getting started. And number two, we avoid the temptation to task switch constantly, which just drains our energy and massively decreases our efficiency. For example, most people spend all day switching between emails and what they're actually working on. Every time an email pops in, they stop what they're doing, they check the email, and they get sucked down the rabbit hole of emails. And then they try to get back into whatever task they were working on with the setup cost that comes with that every single time. Remember, it can take us 11 to 24 minutes to regain our focus again once we task switch or once we get distracted. So avoid task switching at all costs. Set up your performance blocks, and I have some classic ones set up here for the likes of your emails, calls, meetings. These are all key recurring tasks that we all have, okay? Pick days and times for your performance blocks and literally block those times into your calendar and only do these type tasks at certain times on certain days, okay? For example, I only work on emails 30 minutes twice per day max. I have performance blocks blocked in for myself in my calendar to do these at set days and set times only. And what it does is it forces me to get through my emails as quick a time as possible and blast through them as fast as I can because I've only a set time. I don't have the whole day to do it. And what I do is I'll batch all my meetings together as well. I only do meetings on certain days and certain times. I only take or respond to calls at certain days and certain times. Believe me, there's rarely an emergency big enough to warrant you monitoring your phone and your emails all the time. And you can do this with any of your repetitive tasks. For example, instead of doing my invoices as I need to do them, I just batch them together once a week and I block that time into my calendar as a performance block. Lastly, you need to set up a performance block for what I call radical focus, okay? Set up one 90-minute radical focus performance block in your calendar every single day and just work with complete focus on that one task, which will be your highest priority for the day, without break or lapse in concentration for 90 minutes. Remember, you'll have already set up your environment for your focus blocks, okay? You've already set up your traction bubble, so it's going to be far easier for you to get this stuff done, your highest priority tasks, your recurring tasks, because you have your traction bubble set up. So this basically means you can work with focus on your highest priority for that period of time without interruption, without distraction. And when you do that, you'll enter what we call a state of flow. And you can actually 5x your output in that same time when you're working that deep flow state. Actually, you will achieve far more in one of these blocks than most people will in an entire day. Honestly, these radical focus blocks are really, really that powerful, okay? Just 90 minutes is enough. Any more, it may not be possible to sustain it, okay? As we can only work with flow for certain periods of time and we need recovery again in order to get going, okay? You can complete 1 to 2 of these every day, but just do them at your most creative time of your day. And as a bonus tip, if you have a particularly big project or deadline coming up, you can schedule one of these in for like 6:30 to 8 a.m. and you'll have achieved far more than most people do in a day before they even come into the office. And when you schedule your priorities like this, it just focuses your mind like a laser on what you need to do, when you need to do it, because you have your traction bubble in place, you know what you need to work on, you know what you need to do, you have performance blocks set up for all your recurring tasks, and you can work with complete focus without getting pulled away into distraction. We're helping our clients do this right now, and you can check out some of our client success stories on our Instagram page. And honestly, when you see what we do and the results we guarantee, you'll want to do this too. Just pop me a DM on Instagram. We can hop on a call to give you more details about what we do and actually walk through how we can do this for you and your business. The entire point of building a business is to fuel your lifestyle instead of a business that's your life. Make sure to keep that in mind. Send me a message on Instagram and we can talk through it. And I'll speak to you guys very, very soon. And we talk to you next time, okay?